Hello again, fellow YouTube enthusiasts, auto repair DIY folks. Excuse me. I'm kind of splitting this video. I'd already started the one video on the front brakes, and I've had to stop because I'm waiting on parts. I got the parts ordered from rockauto.com. Today is Monday. They hopefully should be here Thursday. In the process of examining this car, this is the 2008 Pontiac G6 4-cylinder. It is the car that belongs to my son's girlfriend. Started to do a little head-to-toe assessment, found out front brakes need to be done. Also, the valve cover gasket has some leakage. Excuse me. And the turn signal indicator, I'll probably do a little video on that also. Turn signal indicator has gone bad. I'm going to show you exactly where some of this leakage is. So let me set up the light and let me pull this off and show you where some of this leakage is. Now, I'm not one to leave oil leaks anywhere near something like a hot exhaust because I've seen cars catch fire. I'm going to show you, if you look at the back of the engine here, I'll get my light to stay. There we go. If you look down along the back side of the engine, which of course is the heat shield and where all the heat is generated, right along in here you'll see the discoloration and the dirt, and that's where a lot of the oil is going, is all along the back there. Now, also notice where these sensors are. You can see down in this well here. Maybe I can get a good focus there. There's some oil there. And over here, you can see where my finger is down in that area. There we go. Yep, there. Right down in there where my finger is pointing, there's an awful lot of the leakage too. So this should be a fairly straightforward and simple job. I think I got the Pro gasket set for like $37, and by the time I put in my discounts for Advance Auto, I ended up paying like $26. Now, I've gone ahead and loosened up most of the bolts, but I want to show you what I did first. I took the cap off, protective cap, just pulls right up. Then I went here, and there is the one clamp here, and there's a bolt here, and there is another one. You can see it right down in there, and I loosened it. I took a screwdriver and went in from this side and loosened that particular bolt up in there. Pull it off here, get the light somewhere, wiggled it up and then pulled it off. So that gives me a little more working area. Oh, and the reason I did that is you see the hose here is breather hose. It's crammed on there pretty tightly. So it was just easier to take this off and slip that off. There's just that one little clamp there. And that exposes the throttle body. Oh, one thing I also did, was a lot of dirt and dust on this thing. And so when I pull these coil packs and stuff out, I didn't want to blow all that stuff into anywhere the tubes here where the spark plugs are. So I took, and a lot of the loom, you can see, I'm going to have to get some more of this loom and cover this up. The heat over time has taken care of the loom, so I'll pick some more of that up. So I blew all those pieces out, and I've gone ahead and loosened up all these bolts. There's like 13 bolts all the way around. You can see them here. This loom attaches here. There's a bolt down in there, and then there's 4 more to pull each of the coils out, and I've got to move the wires back. Oh, and there's one bolt, actually it's a nut way over here that holds the fuel rail on right down in there. And so they're all 10 millimeter. So let me go ahead and take this apart, because again it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and pull, I've got to pull these connectors off of the actual can't speak today, off of each of these coils, and put a little pick right up under here and pull it off, and then I'll pull the coils out. Now you've got to be careful. I went ahead and anytime I have little clips like this, I shoot them with a little WD-40 or a little silicone, loosens things up, and then I take the pick and very carefully work it up under here and then jiggle this out. And be very careful, because my garage right now is about 52 degrees. Things have a tendency to break at that temperature, so I'm going to be very careful. Alright, a minor correction on this clip. Now, if you look very carefully, I have to push this piece down. See if I can get a closer focus. I have to push this gray piece down and then move this piece out. So I'll push it down. If I can get you in the camera there, I'll push that piece down and slide it out. See if I can get a better focus here. There we go. So then, that's like a clip, I guess, that holds it in. I like that. It's a little better design. And then, I'm trying to do this one-handed. Let me loosen that up and then I'll slide it off and show you. Okay, so it's a two-step process. I pull that little protective clip out, then I push here and jiggle a little bit. Now remember, I shot some silicone here and here, and then I slide that off, and you'll feel it give. There we go. And see, there's another angled clip there. So if that breaks, you still have that little clip keeping it on. So I'm going to do that times all four. But you push right here. Okay, so I took the four connectors off for the spark plugs, the coils, and moved it out of the way. I have taken these two connectors off, and I'll label that. I don't think they're interchangeable. No, they're not interchangeable, so I'm not worried about that. And I went ahead and pulled this one off. Let me get over here, because I'm going to take that particular light on there somewhere. I'm going to take this harness and move it out of the way. Then I'll go way over here and move this bolt out of the way to get this fuel rail as far out of the way as I can. You know, and I think I can do this when I remove all these bolts. Alright, so let me see. Be right back. Alright, something else I had to do. Excuse me. The overflow hose went up to here, and it was wedged and all that, so I removed that. Then everything's pretty clear. I started with a screwdriver, or you know, some a small pry bar, and you got to be very careful. This is aluminum, and I started here, and I started prying very gently, working my way down. You don't want to gouge anything, and so I worked my way down, and now, as you can see, it'll come off on the front, and then I'll work my way around the back. You got to be very careful. This is aluminum, and it will snap. So I'll work my way around the back, and then I'll take this off. But just take your time. You may have to take a rubber mallet, tap on it a little bit. Maybe a small block of wood, and then put the wood here and hit it with a regular hammer. Just tap it. Loosen it up. Take your time. No rush. Don't manhandle. Well, I almost had it. One more bracket in the way. Right here is the bracket. Let me back up so you can see that. You know, I'm on the driver's side. That bracket is one of the brackets. If you lift the engine out, that's where you would attach to. There are two 13mm bolts. Well, good job there, Tom. All right, let's get the light back in there so you can see. Okay. There are two 13mm bolts here and here. Well, I'm all fumble fingers. So 1, 2. Take those out, pull this bracket off, and the edge would hit right here. So I'm going to remove that bracket. So everything is off now, and I just went ahead and did an examination of the timing chain and the phasers. See if there was anything that looked particularly worn or broken or cracked. I looked at all of the lobes on my 2 camshafts. Everything looks pretty good there. Let me show you what I had to do. You know, each of these bolts fits in each of these slots. Now, it fits in there, but if you look very carefully, there's a little bit of a sleeve to it right here. And then the bolt, this, you've got a metal sleeve, then you've got the rubber grommet, and it's got, like I say, a bit of an edge or a sleeve to it. Well, when it fits down in here, it stays in there. So I had to take a pick and work my way from the side to pop this out, because the actual nut and the metal sleeve do not come apart. You have to put all new grommets on this, and there's enough grommets. Don't forget you've got the 4 here that you'll be using. That's where the coils go. So before there, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, and so there was 11. Usually it's an even number, but 11 of those. So what I have to do next is replace each of these grommets. Oh, and when I took this apart, there is the main gasket all the way around, and then there is the gasket that goes from here to here to here. It's all one piece to seal out the oil to keep it out of the chambers here for the spark plugs. Well, when I took it apart, it was very stiff. You can tell it's been baked over time. You know, engines get hot, and, you know, hence this got baked. See the loom? Look at that. It just crumbles. So I'm going to buy some new loom, throw it on the ground there, and kind of protect that. Yeah, it's inexpensive. But this thing was baked on. I had to take a pick and very carefully reach up under it and pull that. I went down through the actual hole because it sits up about yay high, and pulled it that way. Try not to score anything. I'm going to go in here and take brake cleaner, and I'm going to clean all this, get all the residue off. You want a perfect seal. And I'll do the same with the inside of the actual valve cover itself. And I'll clean that up and put all new grommets on all this, and then get ready to put her back together. Well, not a particularly hard job. It's just a little time consuming and a little dirty. Now I had to take each one of those little rubber grommets off, and if you'll notice, this is one of the little stubs for the bolt that goes through here and secures the coil pack. Now there's a little bit of a ridge right there, so you've got to get the actual grommet over that. So in order to get it off, I put a pick under here and lifted it up, and then I took a sharp knife, razor blade, and cut them off. Just be careful, mind your fingers. So that's one of the 4 that holds the actual coil pack in, and here's the ones that hold the actual valve cover, and see, they don't slide off, but it's the same situation. Now what I'm going to do, once I get these back on, because that will be the top, if you know that, I put a bolt in, it'd be like this. Around this bottom edge, I'm going to put a little silicone paste so that when this pops in, it'll slide in so much easier. So let me put all these things back together. Okay, so I'm getting ready to put these rubber gaskets in. You see how pliable those are? That's nice. Now, it might be a little hard to tell. That is thicker than this. So the thinner part goes into the groove of the valve cover, and this part here will rest against the flat part of the head. So let me put that in, and then put in the one that goes around the circumference. Now you'll also know that you have this correct when you see right here. Let me focus in on that. See that little groove right there? You know that it's right side up because that fits in the groove. And you'll notice, I see, yeah, there are some grooves. See right there where my thumb is, there's a bit of a little stub. That is what, when you press it in, keeps it in place, and that groove. So I'm going to clean the head one more time, make sure it's absolutely clean. This was absolutely clean. Cleaned it with brake cleaner, used acetone, and I blew it off with my compressed air. Oops, that one went up a little. So again, I'll triple check. I put everything back together as far as the gaskets are concerned. I set the lid down. I double checked with a mirror on the back side here to make sure nothing was pinched. I put all the bolts in. There's 11 all the way around, and the 4 for the excuse me, the coil packs. And what I did is I hand tightened until they were firm in a crisscross pattern, much like you would do a head gasket. So, you know, I did a crisscross pattern, and I tightened these up so that things wouldn't be catawampy, and hand tightened them. And you know, it's a thing. It's by feel. You know, by feel. It's 89 inch-pounds, I believe, is what the spec is, and I've got a torque wrench. But what I did is I tightened things up till they were firm and even, and then I went in and did a crisscross pattern with my little torque wrench. So things look pretty good at this point. Now I've just got to put the braces back on over on the far side there. Over here, I'll put those back in. I'll have to run that hose through here to get it back up to the coolant reservoir. That black brace was 213 millimeters. This little brace was 110, and then start plugging things back in. Now the nice thing about this, you didn't have to use any RTV whatsoever. And oh, and I'll stop by AutoZone or somebody and see if I can get some more of this loom. Boy, this stuff is pretty rough. I mean, it just crumbles. It's, like I say, it's baked. I'll have to figure out what size. Well, I'd take a little break there. Went out and had some dinner last night. Decided to continue this evening. Fortunately, it's gotten a little bit cooler. It's like 50 degrees outside. It was like 69 or 70 yesterday. But, you know, pizza was calling me. Had my name on it. So, if you remember, you know, I was talking about the wiring. This conduit is basically toast. And I'll show you some more as I was fixing this up. See this down here? Man, it just crumbled. The heat has gotten to it, you know, normal operating temperature. I'll blow this all out with my compressed air when I'm all said and done. But I went ahead, if you remember, these wires to the, there we go, get that. These wires in the back that went to each of the coil packs, I repaired that. And you don't want these wires exposed because all that heat, again, gets trapped up under that plastic cowling, and it'll just make toast out of your regular wiring. So this is the black conduit that normally comes, you know, with it from the factory, but I went ahead and got some more yesterday when I was at O'Reilly's. And so I repaired this area too, covered the wires up, and took Scotch 33, I believe it is. That's really good tape. Let's see, let me check it out here. The good old Scotch 33 tape. Well, if I can get it open. Trying to do it one-handed. There we go. Scotch 33 electrical tape. Yep, I'm sorry, Super 33 Plus. So I used that. And then here's the conduit. I went ahead and I got two different sizes. Gosh, it was 10 feet, I think it was. I got 3/4 inch and 3/8 inch. And yeah, 10 feet, O'Reilly. It's like $5.99 each for both. And so, depending on the number of wires, you know, would help me determine what size conduit. So I used a little of each. And so now I have all my wires back where they should be. I have reconnected all my connectors. I have put my safety tabs back into the plugs for the coil packs. I've double checked, triple checked my work. Let's go around and look at the back here. Everything's looking good there. Before I really start running this engine and checking for leaks, I'm going to take some brake clean. And again, you know, back here where some of that oil had leaked, because as you can see, there's the heat shield right down there. And a lot of that oil here, I'm going to clean off some brake clean, let it dry off. Remember, it's flammable. Let it dry off, and that way I can check for any leaks beyond that point. So I think I've, like I say, double checked, triple checked my work. Here's your throttle body. I went ahead and where the fuel hose is, I put that single 10mm bolt. You know, this is when you need a third hand. I put that single 10mm bolt back in, and that holds the fuel line. And then the brace over here, that black brace that you see right there, that's used as an engine lift, there were the two, I believe 13mm there. And so I put all that back together. And I have connected all my electrical connectors. So the next thing I think I'm going to do is go ahead and put the breather box from here to here back on. This is the breather box upside down, so you know this breather hose will go here. And this end will go over here. And this end will be hidden, but when you turn it over, you can see there's the hose clamp. It'll be down in here, so you run a screwdriver from over here, and this hose clamp over here. Let me go ahead and stick that back on. I think I'm about ready to wrap this up. I have heated up my garage, took a day off from work in the 40s, so I've got the garage heated up a little bit, and I think I'll finish this up and then go back to doing the brakes. So once again, I've gotten the conduit on, and I used Scotch, Super 33 tape to close that off and keep it out of the way. Again, this stuff is heat resistant, which is what you need because of the heat of this engine. I have reconnected everything, double checked, triple checked, put the air cleaner box back on, all the connections, electrical connections, my connections for the coil packs. Now when you put this little hood back on, you have to take the oil cap off, fit it under there, snap it on, and you'll see 3 posts. One there, one in the back, another in the back, and turn that over, snap it on. But before I snap it on again, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the brakes, then roll this car out of the garage, let it get up to operating temperature, and look for any leaks. I'll clean it with some brake clean before I crank it up, because remember, that's flammable. Let it evaporate, crank it up, run it, see if I have any leaks. Well, I hope that helps. It's a relatively simple job. You don't have to have a torque wrench to torque this down, but it certainly helps. These are that rubber style type gasket, and to get the right torque, you know, if you're a mechanic, you do it by feel. You've done it so many times, but for me, I'm an amateur. I got all the tools. So once again, my mantra, I'll fix your car, but it won't go far.